All right, awesome. So I'll probably go ahead and just get started. And as people come in, they might chime in. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in the chat. Maria is monitoring the chat, so she'll be able to answer questions there. If you have anything very specific to your unique situation, it might be best to hold on to that question until the end, or maybe you can also email us. And our email is right here on the first slide, cba-ugrad@csus.edu. That comes directly to our department, and one of our advisors would be able to answer the any questions you might have. And again, anybody that's new, I am going to ask that you mute yourselves so that we can avoid any background noise if possible. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, my name is Stephanie, and I am one of the business advisors here at Sac State. You're all here today, hopefully to learn a little bit more about the Business Impaction Program and the process. We are in the middle of the supplemental application cycle. The application deadline has been extended until October 18th. So if you have not applied yet, know that you have until October 18th to do so, but I am going to encourage you all to apply today after this meeting, if possible, so that you don't forget or it slips your mind. So the application has been extended to the 18th. If for some reason you end up not being able to apply today and you have to wait a little bit longer, please note that the application system will be down for maintenance and upgrade from October 14th through the 16th. So if you try to access it during that time, you might get an error. So try not to panic. You will still have until October 18th to submit the application. But again, if possible, please submit it tonight. It's very simple. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. I can get this to work here. All right, awesome. So some of the agenda items we will be reviewing today are what the requirements are in order to apply to the major, complete that supplemental application. Also, how you can apply to the business major, what the application statistics are, so maybe where GPA cutoffs have fallen in the last couple of semesters, just so that you can kind of gauge what your actual chances of getting in might be. We're going to do a brief business degree breakdown as well. And then we'll give you a few options in case you end up not being able to get into the major. We will discuss what some of your options might be. And then, of course, some more information on the resources we offer, as well as our contact information. All right. So as you probably already know, the business major at Sac State is impacted. So what that means is that students must complete certain coursework and have a competitive GPA in order to apply and hopefully get into the major. So the eligibility criteria consist of having at least 45 units or more of college coursework completed at the time that they have applied. Maybe by show of hands, before I keep going, could you tell me who is a continuing student at Sac State? So maybe somebody that started at Sac State or transferred sometime before this upcoming spring 2023 semester. You can just do the little waving hand emoji on Zoom here. I'm just gonna go through and see if I see any. Doesn't look like it. So maybe everybody, I guess let's do the opposite. If you are a new incoming student for spring 2023, could you please raise your hand on Zoom? Let me see. Okay, I've got a thumbs up. That works. Great. Okay, cool. So it looks like we've got most of you are probably going to be new incoming students. Well, welcome to Sac State. We are excited to have you join us in the spring semester. So these eligibility requirements might be a little bit different for some of you, especially if you are receiving an ADT, and we will go into that with a little bit more details later on. So, okay, so the original requirements to apply are completing 45 units of college coursework. If you're a current Sac State student, you started as a first-time freshman, or maybe you transferred some time ago and you're working on those prereqs, at this point, all of your lower division business prerequisites should be completed before you apply to the major. So if you're taking any of them right now, you wouldn't be applying until the spring semester. Again, that's for current students and anybody that has been at Sac State since before next spring 2023. So fall 22 and before. You have to be in good academic standing. So that means that your GPAs, both overall and Sac State GPA, should be at least a 2.0 or higher. Please note that in order for you to actually complete the application, you need to have at least a 2.4 overall GPA. And that includes transfer students. Any transferable coursework, it should be at a minimum 2.4. However, in order to actually get into the major, you should be at a 2.9 GPA. So that's what's going to actually make you competitive to get in. If you're around a 2.8, that's hopefully fine as well. It just really depends on where the cutoff is going to be by the end of this, by the time we do our ranking. So all of these criteria must be met in order for us to consider your application. And of course, having a competitive GPA is what's hopefully going to help you get into the major. Let me see here. Sorry, I don't know why there we go. Okay, so more details on the lower division requirements for the actual major. So we have a total of typically 23 units that you would take at Sac State. As transfer students, that unit count might be a little bit higher, and that's totally fine. We're just looking more at the fact that you've completed the equivalent coursework to the courses listed here on this slide. So we have MIS 10, which is the business applications class. This is a spreadsheets class. So if you took a 2-unit spreadsheets class at a community college, that should hopefully be meeting the requirement for MIS 10. If anybody has been in school a little bit longer than the start of fall 2021, that's totally fine, but I just want to point out that if you took the equivalent to MIS 1, 2, and 3 sometime in summer 2021 or before, then we will count that for the admission purposes for the major. So you would not have to complete the MIS 10 requirement. However, if you started school in fall 2021, the community college, you started at a different university, you will be held to that MIS 10 requirement. We also have Accounting 1, which is your accounting fundamentals class at the community college. It's also known as financial accounting. So if you have the equivalent to that, that's going to work to meet your Accounting 1 requirement. Accounting 2, we have managerial accounting. So having that one completed as well is going to be one of the requirements that you needed in order to apply. Accounting 1 is usually the prereq for that. So you want to make sure that you take those in a timely manner. Econ 1A is your macroeconomics class. Econ 1B is going to be your microeconomics class. So both of these should also be done. We have Math 24, which is the modern business mathematics. If you took that, an equivalent course to Math 24 or some kind of calculus 1 or higher class, that would also count in lieu of your Math 24. The only thing we won't really count for Math 24 is finite mathematics or the pre-calculus. And then anything college algebra related, we will not accept. So hopefully everybody did a calculus class or something higher than that. We also have Management 10, which is your business law class. And then we have statistics. So our course is Stat 1, but if you took anything in the local community colleges, it could be Stat 300, which is the elementary statistics course. So you're probably maybe wondering, okay, well, those kind of sound familiar, but my course wasn't named Accounting 1. It might have been named something else. That's totally fine. The website that we typically refer you to and that we use in order to verify that you've met the requirements is assist.org. There's a way for you to go in there and check the courses that are equivalent to one another between different institutions. This is mostly for students that have taken classes within California. So at a community college in California, you can compare it to the classes at Sac State. You can further look by major, which for this purpose would be business. And it will show you what class equals the specific class at the community college or vice versa at Sac State. So if you have any concerns about that, make sure you check assist.org. And then ADT and AST students. So if anybody is receiving an ADT and will be completing their ADT this fall 2022 before they actually get to Sac State in the spring, there are some perks that come with receiving an ADT. For example, I've already mentioned that in order for you to apply, all of the lower division prereqs need to be completed. However, that's not necessarily the case for ADT students. So for the ADT, you're typically required to take one math class. Most of the time, students will take the Stat 1 course. So you won't need the Math 24 in order to complete the ADT if you've done Stat 1, but you will still be held to that requirement once you get to Sac State because it is a requirement for the actual business program. So if you're in that situation where you haven't taken Math 24 and you don't have a different calculus class, that's okay. If you get into the major, we will more than likely recommend that you complete Math 24 within your first semester at Sac State, because that is a prereq to another upper division business class, which is a prereq to another, and then a prereq to another. And we will talk about this at orientation as well. But Math 24, if you don't have it done and you're getting an ADT, you do want to make sure that you complete that as soon as possible. MIS 10 as well is another course that is not necessarily required to meet the ADT requirements, but it is a requirement for the major. So that is another class that we will advise that you take as soon as possible if you get in and are ready to transfer over to Sac State. So again, ADT students, you can apply with most of these courses in progress and or missing your MIS 10 and Math 24, as long as you are meeting all of your ADT requirements. GPA boosts. So there is a possibility that you could have a 0.1, maybe even a 0.2 boost in your GPA. I have to clarify that this boost does not go on your permanent record. So we're not going to boost whatever your overall GPA is permanently. It's just kind of like a curve. So maybe, for example, when you're in a class, there's a grade curve. We have kind of like a 0.1 GPA curve for our students. So if you are getting an ADT, you will have a 0.1 boost added to your GPA that you have applied with. And if you're a local student, so if you are transferring from any of the Los Rios schools, Sierra, Delta, Yuba, Woodland, and then I'm not sure if Solano is included in that list, Maria.
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So if you're coming from any of those schools, you will definitely be getting another 0.1 boost. So this would be great, especially if you're around a 2.7 and you really need that additional 0.1 or 0.2 boost. That will hopefully help you get closer to getting into the major. Couple of things to clarify on those boosts. Those boosts are only good. Well, the local student one is good for anybody that is a continuing student at Sac State that is applying, so they automatically will get that 0.1 boost. The ADT students will get that 0.1 boost if they're coming from any of the schools that I mentioned. But the ADT boost is only applicable during that first time that you're transferring to Sac State. So for example, you're all transferring in for spring 2023. You're hopefully getting your ADT. You're going to get that 0.1 boost. Now, if for some reason you don't get in, you have to reapply next spring, maybe next fall, you are no longer going to get that ADT boost. It is only a perk during your first semester at Sac State. So when you're transferring in for that first semester. So hopefully that makes sense. Gonna go to the next slide here. All right, awesome. So how do you apply to the business major? The application is in your student center. So let's say after this meeting, you kind of go through your records, make sure that you have your requirements completed or that you are getting your ADT and all that good stuff. You can, if you have access to your student center already, you can log in. Your view might look a little bit different, so you might need to click on the option to switch to the full site view. So just make sure that you click that option. On the right-hand side of your student center, you're going to see a box similar to the one over here on the left side of the slide. So you're going to go to that box that says Forms, and you're going to click on the supplemental application link. So if you click on that, that's going to link you to another page, and it's going to have the supplemental applications for some of our impacted majors at Sac State. Business is the very first one. You're just going to select that one, and then it'll take you over to the application, which is the image on the right-hand side of this slide. The application is very simple. You just need to put in there what grades you got for the courses, for the lower division courses that you need in order to apply. Now, just going to note a few things because we get these questions a lot. So for the institution, let's say you took the course at Sac City, you would just put Sac City in the institution. For the term, you're going to put what semester you took it in or are taking it in case it's in progress. You can put, if you took it spring 2022, you can just put spring 22 in there. The equivalent course would be whatever the name is at that institution. So MIS 10 at Sac City is CISA 315. So however it's showing up on your records with that institution, you want to put the name of the course in that equivalent course area. And then in the units, you'll just put however many units that that course was. And then of course, you'll add in your grade there. If there's anything in progress, you can just put that it's in progress. Is it in the grade area, Maria, that they put the in progress?
Yes, it would be in the grade area.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So you would just fill everything else out with the institution, the term, the equivalent course, the number of units, and then in the grade area, for those ADT students that might have some of these classes in progress, you can just put in progress. After you've completed those sections, you just make sure you submit. And then as a reminder for our new incoming spring 2023 transfer students, please make sure that you send unofficial copies of your transcripts to us. So you can use the email that was listed in the beginning, or towards the end, we'll have it up again. Just send unofficial transcripts to us because we need to actually go into those transcripts and verify that you have completed the requirements as you have stated on your application. I know that the university usually asks for official transcripts, and that's fine for those purposes. Your credit won't be posted maybe until closer to orientation, and then maybe some of you might not have your credit posted during that time. It's handled by a completely different department. So we just ask that you send those unofficial transcripts to us so that we can pretty much verify that the information you've provided is actually reflected on your actual transcripts. Let me see here. Whoops, going the wrong way. Okay. All right, application statistics. So, as I mentioned before, our major is impacted, and you need to have a competitive overall GPA in order to hopefully get into the major. As you can see, the GPA cutoffs range in the last couple of semesters, but they really haven't fallen anywhere below a 2.8. And again, this is overall. This is not just your business classes. This is everything that you've taken either here at Sac State for our current students, along with transfer credit. And for our transfer students, it's going to be any coursework that is transferable to the CSUs. So last semester, the cutoff was around a 2.9, 2.95. So we like to tell our students, you know, the higher the GPA, the better chance you have to get in. So you want to make sure that you're ranging around there. If you're at a 2.8, 2.7, again, if you're getting that 0.1 or maybe that 0.2 boost, that's going to help you get up to that 2.9. If it's anything lower than that, let's say 2.6 and lower, we would probably really recommend that you look for an alternative major, especially as transfer students. You're coming in with a lot of units under your belt already. Sometimes it's really hard to get that GPA back up. So it's really going to depend on your specific and unique scenario. So statistics, want to range around a 2.9. I always tell my students 3.0 or higher is just going to put you in a better spot to hopefully get in. All right, so what happens if you don't get into the program, or if you get into the program? The good news first. So if you do get in, then great job, yay. Hopefully you've gotten past the hardest part of it. You get to move on to your upper division requirements. At the time that you apply, you choose the concentration that you would like to pursue. If you change your mind between the time that you applied and the time you start at Sac State, or maybe after your first semester at Sac State, there's really no problem. You can submit a form to change your concentration. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but we only have one major, so it's business administration. And then within the major, we have 10 different concentrations. So if you're unsure, you can just pick the general management one for now. And then you would actually change your concentration once you're here, if you get in, of course. Now, you can change your concentration at any point. We just recommend that you do it in a timely manner because depending on the concentration that you would like to pursue, there might be courses that need to be taken in a certain sequence. For example, accountancy is one of our concentration that requires 3 classes that cannot be taken together in the same time. So it's an automatic 3-semester planning. The human resources concentration is also similar to that. Keep in mind, with it only being one major, you're going to take the same 24 units of upper division core requirements, and we'll go into more detail with that at orientation and then of course when you come in with advising. But you're essentially going to take the same set of classes regardless of what concentration you're in. However, depending on your concentration, you're going to have at least 18 to 24 units of concentration classes that you'll need to take that might differ from one of your other peers, depending on which concentration you are pursuing. So new students, you will be registering for your courses at orientation in January. So once you get the opportunity to register for orientation, make sure you do so as soon as possible. The sooner you attend orientation, the sooner you can pick your classes. I'm going to leave it at that. For our continuing students, you will be able to register sometime, hopefully in late November, especially if you're already at that junior level. You'll hopefully be registering with all of the other juniors on campus. So keep an eye out for your registration appointments. You do get emails sent to you throughout the semester, especially as we get closer to November. The registrars will reach out to those continuing students to let them know registration is coming up and when their registration appointment begins. For my transfer students, your orientation date is your registration date. So if you register for orientation on January 7th, then that's when you're going to register for classes. If you register for orientation on January 10th, and I'm just throwing dates out there, then your registration is on January 10th. So again, it really just depends on what orientation date you end up choosing. Okay. And then options for those that maybe don't get into the major, you could always reapply to the major, especially if your GPA was very close to that 2.9, maybe 2.8 range. I would recommend maybe stopping by our drop-ins or making an appointment once you're here at Sac State to talk to an advisor if you want to kind of get a good look at where you're at. But you can always reapply. There's no limit, but we do recommend that you, consider a couple of things. So one of them being the timely declaration of major policy. So if you are at 60 units or more, especially our continuing students, there is a policy that kicks into place. You could be getting a registration hold, which would prevent you from registering for the fall semester if you do not declare a major or if you're not admitted into your major. So consider that, because at 60 units, you're technically at the halfway mark to graduating unit wise, but it's really just going to depend on what major you end up pursuing and what requirements you have left to complete. The timely declaration major policy will also affect our transfer students after the spring semester. So if you apply today and you don't get in for the spring and you want to reapply in the spring, that's fine. But if for some reason you're just not competitive to get in, then we will strongly recommend that you change your major to something else so that you can avoid getting a registration hold in the future. Time is money and money is time. So we do recommend, that if you're pressed for time and you're trying to graduate, and it's just not going to make sense to continue trying to get into the business major because maybe the GPA is just not competitive, then we do recommend that you switch to a different major as soon as possible. We also encourage you to really explore your career options, your goals, and your interests. A lot of times I hear from students that they want to pursue business because they want to start their own business. I feel like that's typically the bulk of what I hear students telling me, and that's fine. I know that taking courses in this discipline and gaining that knowledge will also help you kind of set you up so that you can really figure out if that is something that you're going to be doing with your career. However, it's not necessarily always one way. So what I mean by that is your degree won't always have to equal your career. So if for some reason you have a specific interest, we do recommend that you maybe meet with the career counselor so that you can explore what those interests are and how they tie into your career goals. Because we have over 60 majors at Sac State. So if business doesn't work out, we're hopeful that you're going to find a home, an interest in a different major. So definitely take advantage of those career center services so that you can do some major and career exploration if you really need that support. Um, my transfer students, I'm not sure if your community colleges have career centers or similar type services. We definitely recommend that you kind of get your exploration started there, but definitely once you are at Sac State, you're more than welcome to use those resources and services that are offered by the Career Center. And then, of course, getting experience. So going back to the um, statement that I made about your career, your degree doesn't always equal your career. Sometimes that experience that you hold outside the classroom is really what's going to make you hopefully a well-rounded candidate for whatever position you're applying to. What I like to tell my students is if you look at your resume, it's a sheet of paper, right? At the top is going to be your name and your contact info. Next is going to be your education, which is important, right? Sometimes that's what you need in order to get your foot in the door. But then the rest of the page is full of skills and experience that you bring to the table. So you do gain a lot of knowledge. You probably further develop your skills in the classroom. And then if there's any projects and stuff like that, that counts as experience. But a lot of the times your experience and your skill set was going to be strengthened within any part-time work that you've done, any full-time work that you've done. If you're getting involved on campus, you're networking and meeting others, you're participating, you're being engaged in one way or another. A lot of the times that experience is what employers are going to also be looking at. So if your degree doesn't say business, but maybe you have a degree in political science, sociology, economics, communication studies, like that should hopefully get your foot in the door, but you really want to be looking at the experience that you're gaining outside the classroom. So maybe looking at internship opportunities and things like that in order for you to really get that experience that you need so that you can continue with your career goals, even if you're not in the business major. And then, of course, declaring a non-impacted major. So we do have a couple of impacted majors at Sac State, but it's less than 10. I don't remember the exact number. But just to name a few, our impacted majors are business, we have psychology, we have nursing. I believe graphic design is still one of them. Biology was in a pre-major status. I know I'm forgetting, oh, criminal justice is an impacted major as well. And I'm probably forgetting a few more. But like I said earlier, we have over 60 majors and programs that we offer at Sac State. So you should hopefully have something to choose from if you don't get into the business major and you're in that situation where you have to declare something else. All right. And then also know that we do have a business minor. So if for some reason it doesn't work out that you get into the major, you've had to declare a different major program, you can still pursue a business minor. Now, the good news is that a lot of those lower division classes that you took as prereqs are also going to count for the minor. So you can see on the slide here, we have MIS 10, the accounting 1, accounting 2, management 10, and also stat 1. So if you've completed those, then you can come declare the business minor after you have declared a new major. So you can't be in an impacted status you'd have to be officially declared into a new major. Let's say, for example, communications. You go declare communications and you still want to do something related to business, you can come declare the business minor. We have other minors as well: risk management, human resources, marketing, and real estate. Those minors do not require the lower division classes that are listed here. Only the general business minor does. Also, a part of the general business minor, we have the upper division requirement. So it's a total of 12 units, which is 4 classes. HROB 101, so the Human Resources and Organizational Behavior 101 class, is a required course for the minor. And then you're going to choose one from Finance 101, Marketing 101, or OPM 101. So one of the 3. So that's going to knock out 2 of the 4 requirements for upper division. And then you get to select either upper division electives from whatever business categories we have. Just keep in mind that some of them will have prereqs. So if you haven't done the prereq to that, you might not be able to take the class. But for the most part, you can choose any 2 upper division business electives to complete that minor. And then also to point out to our students that will hopefully be in the major, you won't be able to declare a business minor. Can't double dip that way. You would technically have all the requirements completed, but that's not how that works. Instead, you could either do a second concentration, just know that that might add some time to your timeline, or you could pursue one of the minors like risk management, human resources, marketing, and real estate. And that's something we can talk about once you're here. But in case anybody has an interest in more than one field for business, and one of them falls under a minor, then you can also do a minor. All right, so looking at major alternatives. So I've kind of already touched on this. Your major does not determine your career. And then, of course, remember that you can always do the minor. That's still an option for you. And then make sure that you keep an open mind when looking at alternative majors. So as I mentioned already, doing that career or major exploration with the Career Center might be helpful. Sometimes it's more helpful to actually speak out loud to professionals and about what it is that you're hoping to achieve after you graduate or what career pathways you're interested in. That way they can hopefully point you in the appropriate direction. And then seeking out information about other majors and the career options. That's definitely something you can explore with the Career Center. Or it could be as simple as Googling this. What can I do with a degree in communications? I'm sure there's going to be like a number of resources and information that can kind of help guide you through that. And then of course the Career Center has like professional resources that you can use in order to kind of explore those options a little bit more. And then professional interviews can help determine major related options as well. So I know these as like informational interviews. So if there's somebody in your community, somebody in your life that is in a career that you are interested in pursuing, I'm just going to use an accountant, for example. If you're interested in what an accountant does, you could always reach out to them and maybe do a professional interview. So you're asking them questions about their career and things like that. There may be their educational background, how they got there. So it'll just hopefully be very insightful for you to kind of make that decision in case you need to pick a different concentration or maybe pick a different major, something of the sort. And the Career Center will actually help you come up with questions as well to help you prepare for these professional interviews or informational interviews as well. So I highly recommend using their services so they can help you prepare for that. And then know that there's also masters in business. So we have a couple of different grad programs within the College of Business. You don't always necessarily need a bachelor's in business in order to pursue a master's degree. You might just need some lower division or some kind of prereqs to get in. And then, of course, you'll want to work on your GPA. If your GPA was one of the reasons why you couldn't get into the bachelor's program, then you want to make sure that by the time you graduate, you're improving your GPA, especially depending on which business grad program you want to apply to and what institution. There might be a competitive level for that as well. So just make sure you, even if you don't get into the business major here, but you're hoping to maybe do a master's in business at some point, just continue working on that GPA if that was the issue to begin with. And then resources. So I really talked up the Career Center. So I really hope you all get a chance to use that resource and the services that they offer at some point. To any continuing students here today, you are welcome to use that starting today. My transfer students, you'll just have to wait until you're officially enrolled at Sac State. So hopefully next spring, you'll be able to start taking advantage of some of those services. And then if you need more information on the major impaction, you can always go on our website. You can always Google CSUS COB and then go to the undergraduate programs link. And that's going to take you straight to our office website. So we are the Office of Student Engagement. And within this office, we have the Undergraduate Business Advising Center, which is where us business advisors are housed. But you can do a simple Google search and you can find more information on our website about Impaction, the academic requirements, and things like that. And then if you are kind of hoping to figure out if the courses you took are equivalent to our requirements, then please use assist.org in order to verify that information. And then contact information is here. So again, we are the Office of Student Engagement. Our email, cba-ugrad@csus.edu. Our phone number is 916-278-2499, or you can remember it as BIZZ 278-BIZ. And then we have, we are located in Tahoe Hall 1030. And then, of course, more our website where you can find more information is listed there. I'm not sure, Maria, were there any questions in the chat that maybe you wanted to address out loud or open the floor?
Yeah, there's no questions in the chat. So if anybody has questions now, you can just raise your hand and we can go to it. Go ahead, Andy.
Hello. You can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Was somebody else have a question? Oh, okay, I guess I'm the only one.
No.
Okay, anyways, so I guess I'll just give a little bit of a background before I answer my questions, or before I ask my question. So I'm Andy. I'm attending Delta College right now. I do work study at Delta College too. I'm in my break room. I've already been admitted to Sac State for spring 23 for transfer, and then for my question, I just wanted to I already have all my links open, but since we're here, is it okay if I just go just like have an overview of my supplemental application?
Like you want to have us review it right now?
Yeah, that's why if anybody else has like any other questions, because I think mine's gonna take a little bit more time than like other random questions. So yeah.
Yeah, we might did you have concerns about like filling it out or?
Yeah, I have like all my tabs open for filling it out, but I just wanted to like have someone from Sac State just have like an overview of my application before I submit it. If there's
Okay.
like any errors and stuff, yeah.
We might need to wait just to see if there's any like other questions that maybe we
Yeah,
can answer
yeah,
as
I
for
should be
the
last. Yeah,
group.
yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that would pertain to everybody else as well. Does anybody else have any other questions?
There was a question in the chat that I think may
Mhm.
pertain to everybody. The question was, how hard is it to get classes for accounting or business? After you submit the business major application, how long will it take before I find out? So the second one is the easiest. We will make decisions by mid-November at the latest. So you should get an email about that. As far as getting classes, the reason we're impacted is so students are able to get classes. So before we're impacted, it was very competitive to get classes. And for any of our classes, I think it's important to say that you need to be flexible when getting classes, especially your first semester, because things do. First semester, when you go to orientation, all our continuing students will already have enrolled in classes. So when you get to in January, there'll be seats available for you, but you will need to kind of be flexible. You may not be able to get your perfect 2-day a week only in the morning schedule. But once after that first initial registration, as long as you're on top of your registration date, you shouldn't have an issue getting classes that are available. I will say that the concentration courses typically, especially some of the smaller concentrations, there's maybe only 1 or 2 of each class offered during the semester. So just kind of be aware of that. That's flexibility is going to be good, but you should be able to definitely get your classes.
And we have Mingy.
Yes.
Okay.
So for the ADT transfer students, like how do you know if you're considered an ADT? Like is it if you took like 60 units at a community college already and that makes you a ADT transfer student?
So my understanding with the ADT, it's like a very specific type of plan that you're going to follow and requirements that you have to complete in order to complete your ADT requirements. So if you're not sure, it might be best for you to check in with your college counselor so that they can tell you if you're on track to complete an ADT. So otherwise, you would just be considered an upper division transfer. And then also very important, when you applied to Sac State, you needed to indicate that you were going to be an ADT versus an upper division transfer. I'll let Maria chime in.
Yeah, and typically, I think you would know if you're getting an associate's degree, you have to apply to graduate with your community college for the associate's degree for transfer. So definitely, if you're not sure, definitely check with your counselor at the community college.
Okay, I'll check with my counselor because I know I'll be graduating this December.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend checking in with them just to see if you are going to be meeting ADT requirements, especially if the additional 0.2 boost would be helpful.
Okay, and then one last question is that if I'm already admitted to Sac State, but I can't get in, but I'm not accepted into the program, could I still attend Sac State, but I'll just be still like taking general education?
Yes, so it'll really depend on why you weren't admitted to the major. So if your GPA was very close, but it maybe just didn't make the cut, you can always reapply. We may, at orientation, we're going to give you sheets which will have information on kind of where you're at for business and then what requirements we recommend that you take in the spring semester. So if it's an issue of GPA, if it's too low, we're just going to recommend that you pick a different majors, and we're probably just going to recommend that you take your upper division GEs along with new major classes. If you are very close to getting in, then we might recommend that you take your upper division GE along with business bridge classes. So it's just really going to depend on why you didn't get in.
Okay.
But you will have upper division GEs, at least 6 units to take, and then we try to fill that in with with the bridge classes if you are on track to get into the major.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Ben.
Yes, kind of similar to that last question. I'm a
Mhm.
Sac City transfer, and I was
Uh-huh.
planning on getting my ADT, but recently I found out I took like the wrong business law class. And so obviously I needed to take that at Sac City, and I won't get in for spring if I apply now. But I'm just wondering, how do I get that, or make sure I get that next spring application? And also, kind of like the last question, I was admitted into Sac State, but obviously I know I'm not going to be able to get into the business college in spring. I was just
And
kind of wondering the
took,
game plan.
okay, and it was at Sac City, you said?
Yes, I guess at some point I accidentally took business law and society instead of business law, and it doesn't match up. So I need to take just the business law.
Okay. Business 345 is the one that you took, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Maria, I'm gonna have you walk me through this one. So would that count with the ADT?
So did your counselor tell you the 345 one work with your ADT?
I don't know why, if I accidentally took it or what happened, but in my most recent meeting with a counselor, they told me that the 345 won't work for the ADT, and I need the 340.
I would maybe try talking to the counselor or the counselor again. We've seen students who've taken the 345. Now, I don't know if these have changed.
I mean, he showed me on the Sac City website, and it was pretty kind of like I couldn't really argue with it. So I felt like I needed the business 340. There wasn't an alternative or anything like that. So, and some of the classes did have alternative options. So I assumed there's somewhere there was a mess up.
Okay, but what I'm going to have you do is email us so we can look a little closer at your record.
Okay, I think I did email the email on Friday, and I'm not sure if I heard back yet. Okay, yeah.
Did you send it to, because there's a couple of different COB emails and
I
sometimes
sent it to the
wrong.
cba-ugrad@csus.edu.
Okay. We'll check to see if we received it.
Yeah, so it looks like we received it. We'll respond to it.
Okay.
So you're not doing business 340 now.
No, I was, like I said, I applied for the spring semester like a month ago or whenever it was. And then when I met with this Sac City counselor to apply for the ADT, they let me know that I was kind of not able to.
Okay, yeah, so I will email you and then let you know the options of if you take business 340 or management 10 in the spring, of what the situation would be.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here too.
Sorry, I was already
Nick,
tripping.
just one second,
just
Andy.
like, oh yeah.
What is it, Andy?
I just have like question for about like Ben's question. So is it, if it's still possible for him to be able to like attend Sac State in spring 23, even though he hasn't taken that one class? Or
Admission to the
or
business
different
program is separate from admission to the university. So as long as you stay eligible to the university, you can attend Sac State without being admitted to the business program.
Oh, okay.
Would there be any kind of difference in that for me, or is it whatever I see easiest?
It's whatever you see easiest as far as the cost factor of it.
Okay.
And the timing of it. So just quick, I would almost recommend staying at City one extra semester, getting your ADT, and then transferring in the fall. But we'll get to that why. But it's because if you take management 10 here in the spring, you won't be able to apply to the business program until next fall for spring 24.
Okay. Yeah.
So it delays you. But if you stay at City, you get the ADT in spring, you can apply to be in the major in the fall because of the ADT.
Okay. And do I have to contact anyone about the fact that I got accepted to the regular university but won't be attending till fall 23?
Yeah, let's look into your situation first before you make that decision. But there is an intent to enroll,
Okay.
and you can just say no if you know you're not coming.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then there was one other question that was pretty quick in the chat. They're asking if there's any other division business courses offered in the summer or winter sessions. And yes, our major core classes are typically offered in the summer. We do not offer any business courses in the winter, but you could take general education courses in the winter.
And then does anybody else have any other questions? I know, Andy,
All
we're
right.
pending
besides
on
mine, yeah.
yours. No? Okay. So I just want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you for joining us. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our email again is on the slide, cba-ugrad@csus.edu. And thank you again for being here. All right. I might have to let you share your screen, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is.
And Stephanie, you may want to stop recording.
Right.
Yes, I'm trying to